The Olmecs disappeared without a trace. There was no competitive city-states, unlike Mesopotamia, who fought all the time. The government was hierarchical and rather authoritarian. There was no power from the people, and the civilization rested in the minds of either a king or a high priest. A ruler was known as an elite, and so was his entire family. They were able to do direct labor for city-building projects, and these elites lived in large, lavish houses. The form of kingmanship used by the Olmecs was one that combined a secular and religious responsibility. The Chavin controlled the majority of trade, and this gave them huge economic advantage that further developed their standard of living. Irrigation was also extremely vital to their food production, and they organized it politically. The Chavin also had way more evidence of early warfare than the Olmecs did. So going back to the Olmec civilization, we already know that there were no competitive city-states. These cities were also large religious centers and trade centers, and these centers were built to align with the stars, which were a huge center of Olmec culture. Artisans who worked with gold and jade, and merchants who traveled and traded with neighboring societies were the next in social rank, and last were the farmers. Life revolved around agriculture with a lot of manual labor due to the lack of large domesticated animals such as alpacas or even mules. So moving into culture of the Olmec, they used a lot of jade for art, religious statues, and it was one of their main trade items. We all know the elite had their elaborate, decorated, beautiful houses, and the commoners, poor things, lived in small structures built from mud and sticks. The Olmec sculpted giant heads out of basalt to symbolize the power of the rulers' families and to honor the specific rulers. These sculptures had negroid features, which made historians think early Americans were kin to Africans, but no connection has been made since. The Olmec had a numerical system up to 30 and a 365-day calendar. The Olmec did trade as much as they could, and when they did, it was mostly salt, cocoa, clay, limestone, and jade. The Chavin cultural structure was much different from the Olmec. They diffused over a large area, and they were very politically well thought out. Religion spread to most of the territory. They believed in a jaguar god. He was a symbol for their religion. Jaguars were inscribed on buildings, pottery, textiles over a large area, and into Mesoamerican carvings. Some other carvings had snakes, hawks, eagles, and humans with feline characteristics engraved into them. Lastly, Olmec farmers cultivated beans, peppers, avocados, squash, maize, and tomatoes. They didn't have any domesticated large animals. The only ones they had were turkeys, dogs, and guinea pigs. They didn't have irrigation either, no canals. They created produce centers around natural resources, lakes and rivers. Human labor provided all of their work. And again, the Chavin were different. They were located on the coastal plains and the foothills of the Andes Mountains and had little rainfall, so they did use irrigation canals. Their main food was fish and seafood because of the abundance and the location. They were close to the ocean. They also used jade, and then they used silver and gold to gain wealth and to create religious objects.